everybody, welcome back to another video. Here we are, season's over, and I have to say, 2024 was just a banger of a year for me. It's gonna be hard to beat, honestly. I mean, I put a lot of time in and I busted my butt to get a few harvested animals, but of course, with the season being over and us kind of getting blessed here in Minnesota with some decent weather here, it's the end of January and we're above zero, which is pretty much non-existent for us, but so we're out walking the dog and just kind of hanging out on the property here and putting some stuff together in my mind on implements and changes that I want to see happen to this property here throughout 2025. So standing right by here, if you did get a chance to watch the video, my wife and I started with planting our property, this south property line, in some small pines that we actually dug up off of another piece of the property to move back here just to kind of give a little bit of a security break for our about an 1.5 acre food plot back in here. But with those changes, we do have more trees on the way from the DNR. We ended up ordering some cedar trees and a few other pine blend trees, as well as just some crabapple trees and stuff like that we're gonna try and put back here. I don't know how well the crabs are gonna do back here, but we're just gonna try it. They were reasonable enough, and we do have a few up by the house here on our property, and it's pretty much the same gravelly dirt everywhere back here. So I'm hoping they do okay, just to kind of pop them in and cage them up, see what happens here in a few years with them. But the main reason for this video and kind of what I wanted to go over was the difficulty of hunting this small property. See, we have a 40 out here, but 2/3 of it is swamp and the other third of it is hay ground. So I mean, there's just little to no trees, little to no cover other than the cattails and stuff that they really don't get into much until it's frozen like this. Then they'll bed down in it and stuff, but for the most part they kind of have limited options on cutting through our property, and when they are doing that, that's pretty much what they're doing. So by putting some food back here, it has improved, but it also comes with the struggle of getting in and out, because coming back to this little high ground spot back here from our house, it's swampy, super wet standing water in the summertime and even in the fall, so it's very hard to access back here other than the one road that we have here. So what I'm trying to do is get around burning this out, by over hunting it. Right now I do have it's a little box blind with that. I can hunt with an east wind or a straight south wind to where I'm not giving up too much, and then I have a little back access cut back to get onto that road to get back up to the house without busting out everything in the food plot. But the reason for this video is to kind of cover and go over just what I've seen. We're going on 4 years of acquiring this property, and typically, even on small properties, it's going to take you a few years to kind of learn these things and to figure out how the deer are using your property and what you can do to try and either change the way they're moving on it, or you have to try and work around them to where you're not blowing out and burning out your spots right away. So we're going to do some walking around. I'm going to kind of implement and show you guys a game plan of what I feel is going to be the strongest way to hunt back here. The few mature bucks that we have seen and had on camera and that I have had encounters with back here, it seems to be a specific way that they are accessing out here, if they do access it before it's dark. So let's get into that. I'm gonna quit talking and let's go walk around a little bit. So showing you guys right now, we're still kind of on the south line here. This was a failed food plot screen that I planted last year. We had plenty of rain and plenty of water. I did end up tilling it, and I didn't kill it the second time. I didn't kill it off, so I think it just had too much competition to get taller. But so that'll be something that I change next year. And then obviously with us getting some cedars and stuff planted in here, it's just gonna kind of be a nice screen if we do have to walk through here. But pretty much this part of the food plot over on the west side of it and down on the south end of it here, I don't mess with it other than just planting the food and leaving it, and then maybe once in a while I'll come back with a machine just to check on the trees that we had planted in here. But so this was a Monster Bucks rut green plot on the south tillable right here, and I put another one in all the way across on the north tillable. And one thing I do know for sure that I'm going to be doing is planting a lot more of that, because we had deer in here in early October like crazy. I mean, by like mid-October, it was gone. Everything was. I threw some rye and stuff in because they just devastated it. Between the two Monster Bucks Rut Greens plot, I have a big section of clover. That's the majority of this food plot is clover, just because it's so hardy, it's so easy to take care of. Keep it mowed, spray it for weeds once, maybe twice a year if you're getting enough rain, and just keep adding to it, frost seeding to it, and the deer love it, and it's just self-sustaining almost, to where you don't have to constantly be back in here. So like I said earlier, you could see over my shoulder the little box stand. That's currently how I have been. I've just been slipping in down that road, and I cut a trail back from the backside to access that blind, and then I've actually successfully gotten in and out of it with deer out in my food plot here. Obviously, in the earlier fall, before late fall, when there's still foliage on all the trees, it's really easy to slip down, nice and quiet to slip out without busting out your food plot. But in order to do that, again, I need that east wind or a south wind. Trouble of that is, you all know, east winds don't come that often, especially not straight east winds. And usually when they do, it's when they're bringing crappy, stormy weather. So the first year that we moved in here, I had put a hang on this row of pines right here. Problem with that, you know, obviously I was getting opportunities at deer and stuff like that, but when you're trying to be selective, typically there's always deer out here eating when you're trying to get down or you're trying to get in and out. With the does and the fawns, they're kind of coming out of everywhere and just walking down this open meadow here. They're not as skittish or as sneaky or as well prepared as these bucks are. But what I did notice is, now to the east, now on our property, on the other side of this pine block, there's an old ATV trail that rides the east side of this pine block all the way back to another, my neighbor's timber, kind of a oak island out in the middle of the swamp. I know that they do a lot of bedding back in there, and that's where they're coming from. If they're working, usually the does and the fawns, they'll pop up and they'll work their way up the edge of this meadow and kind of mill their way down. Now, what I've seen several times, and it obviously is last minute of light, normally on more of a marginal wind than I should have been hunting, is that the bucks are taking that old ATV trail and they're slipping down past where my hang-on was, and they're waiting to the last minute to pop up out of this bottom corner. Now, I know what they're doing, and I believe that to put it even more in their favor is that if I could somehow hunt back here on a west wind, that buck is gonna come down the east side of this timber block right here, and he's gonna scent check, and he's gonna smell his way all the way down to the furthest point that he can, and then he's popping up that way when he knows that it's safe and that nothing is in there that's making him not want to pop out, to maybe come out a little bit early. But that's the thing, you think hunt it with the east wind to keep your scent completely blowing away from them. The more time you spend in the woods and the longer you get around these deer, especially the deer that are 3 years and older, you'll see that they don't even come to areas on certain winds. They want to come to an area that they know that they can walk the entire edge of it or the entire surround of it to get a smell of whatever it is they want to go to, whether that's a scrape, whether that's a bedding area, whether that's a food source. So in my mind, if I can get on the back side of this pine row, if I can get up high enough in that tree on a west wind, I'm blowing out into the wet, swampy cattail stuff that I have hardly ever seen deer pop out of. So I'm kind of that's my dead spot for scent. So here we are, guys, on the back side of this, as I was talking about. We're actually on the east side of this pine block. You could just see exactly kind of what I was talking about with these rub lines here. All this stuff is kind of busted up all the way around here, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's coming out of this, there's a swamp to pine transition right here, and he's sneaking right up the edge, or he's sneaking up in the pines, and at some point in time he's cutting down here so he can wind everything before he pops up onto the flat over there. But there's several mature pines up here that I can get a set hung in. I'm thinking right here on this corner where this double is. For one, it's a really good cover tree. It's a really solid tall tree that I can get up higher in. I don't like how close this trail is to it, so I may end up tucking myself back in there, maybe another 10 yards if I can find the right tree. But another part of it is just so I can keep an eye on my side of these willows right here as well if they are bedding here, which at that point in time I would almost need like a southwest wind to blow me away from these willows here. But we'll get back in here and get some plans drawn up. But the other part of this video was to show now, instead of me hunting back here, getting down, walking up onto the food plot and down the access road, because it's the easy thing to do. I'm gonna bump deer out of there all the time. So what I'm looking at doing is carrying this trail up through these willows and cut myself a path all the way up to the next. There's another little high spot north of here, still on my property, that if I can connect this trail to that little high spot, I can hunt here, let all the deer get into the food plot, let them get nice and comfortable. After dark, slip down, get out onto here, and mosey my way out with my wind blowing out into this dead spot right here and not have to bump them out. Well, that's pretty much gonna wrap it up for this video, you guys. I know not the most entertaining thing in the world, but kind of just working on strategies and trying to make some changes, subtle changes, to where you can get in and you can hunt some of them tight areas that are a little bit riskier on your own property. So that's kind of what I'm looking to do. I'm gonna keep you guys along with me as I do it. So hopefully it pays off. If not, you guys are gonna see me blow it too. So I appreciate you guys watching. Hit that subscribe button for us, and we're gonna see you guys real soon on the next one.